Okay, today we are going to be talking about equal groups. And when we talk about equal groups, we're going to be talking about repeated addition. So if you remember, repeated addition is multiplication. And when we are talking about equal groups and we're talking about repeated addition and we're talking about multiplication, we're basically going to be skip counting. So when something is equal, it means that it has the same amount. It has the same amount. So let's look, for example, if we have 3 groups of 2. So I have 3 groups and I have 2 in each group. If I were to skip count 2, 4, 6, how many do I have? 6. If I was to write an equation to show this drawing, I would have 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. Okay, let's try that one more time. What about 4 groups of 3? That means I would have 4 groups and 3 in each group. When I counted them, I would go 3, 6, 9, 12. How many is 4 groups of 3? 12. If I was writing an equation, 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 12. All right, let's look at this one more time before we work some together. If I have 6 groups of 5, I need 6 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 in each group. Okay, let's count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So, 6 groups of 5 equals 30. Or I can write the equation 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 30. All right, so now we're gonna work on 6 more together. And we're gonna work on these 6 together, and when I give you the problem, you're gonna also draw a model and an equation. Okay, I'm gonna give you a minute to get these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 problems written down. Then we're gonna work them together. Okay, let's look at our first one. 2 groups of 10. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 2 groups. Each group has 10 in it. I can either draw 10, counters, 10 dots, 10 ones, or I can write the number 10 inside. If I was to write this as the equation, it would be 10 plus 10 equals, and I can add it or I can skip count. 10, 20. All right, let's look at the next one. 3 groups of 5. So first I'm going to draw my 3 groups. There's 5 in each group. I'm going to write my equation. 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 5, 10, 15. Guys, if you do not remember how to skip count, you can always just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. But here's my tip. Make sure that you're practicing skip counting while we're out. Let's look at the third one. 4 groups of 2. So I'm going to draw 4 groups. I'm going to draw 2 in each group. I'm going to write my equation. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next, I have 6 groups of 1. So I'm going to draw my 6 groups. I'm going to draw 1 in each one. I'm going to write my equation. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I have 5 groups of 3, so I'm going to draw my 5 groups. I'm going to write 3 in each group. I'm going to write my equation. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Now, if you were paying attention, this one and this one are the same. And we're going to talk about that when we start talking about rows and columns next. Okay, so let's talk about rows and columns. So when we talk about a row is going horizontal from left to right, right to left. It's going across. When we talk about a column, we're talking about vertical, meaning that it's going up and down from top to bottom, bottom to top. So rows are horizontal, columns are vertical. So when we use this, when we talk about equal groups, we can form our groups using rows and columns. So, for example, we're going to use the problem that I just mentioned, 3 groups of 5 and 5 groups of 3. They're essentially the same problem. They just look different. So if I have 3 groups of 5, I can draw this 2 ways. I can either draw 3 rows of 5 that looks like this. I have 3 rows and there's 5 in each row. Or I can draw it as 3 columns of 5. And there's 3 scratch it out. 3 columns of 5. There's 3 columns and 5 in each column. Let's scratch it out. Do too many. So, in each one, 5, 10, 15, there's 15. And then 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, there's 15. Either way, it's the same equation. It's the same problem. It's the same number. Let's try this again. If I have 3 groups of 2, that equals blank. That's my equation. I can draw it 2 different ways. I can either draw 3 rows of 2, or I can draw 3 columns of 2. So if I draw 3 rows of 2, I have 1, 2, 3 rows, and there's 2 in each row. So if I kind of numbered that, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. There's 1, 2, 3 rows, and there's 1, 2 in each row. If I looked at the 3 columns of 2, I would have 1, 2, 3 columns and 2 in each column. So I would have 1, 2, 3 columns and 1, 2 in each column. So when I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The answer is 6. When I counted over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The answer is still 6. Let's try one more. 4 groups of 3. Four groups of 3. We can draw this using rows and columns. I can either draw 4 rows of 3, or I can draw 4 columns of 3. Both times my answer is going to be 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. 4, 8, 12. So this is how we're going to use rows and columns to draw our equal groups. Okay, let's look at this picture, this drawing, this model. And let's describe it using what we've talked about today about equal groups. So when I look at this picture, automatically I see that they're equal groups. There's the same amount going across, and then each time we go down, there's the same amount as well. So I can know right now that this is a picture, this is a model of equal groups. Now, a word that we can also describe this as is we can describe it as a array. Whenever we have a picture of equal groups, we call it an array. And that's just a third grade word that you'll know before you get to third grade. So, now let's talk about this picture. What does it look like? We can describe it in rows and columns. We already said that it's equal groups. We can identify the numbers that are in each group. So let's talk about that. When I look at this picture, how many rows do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 rows. How many columns do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know I have 4 rows and 7 columns. Now I can say this problem either way. I can either say that I have 4 groups of 7 or I have 7 groups of 4. Because remember, when we talk about groups, we can be talking about the rows going across, or we can be talking about the columns going up and down. I'm going to say that I have 4 groups of 7. And when I have 4 groups of 7, my equation is 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals blank. So let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So 4 groups of 7 equals 28. All right, I'm going to give you one to look at by yourself. I want you to practice. And I want you to tell me, how would you describe this problem? How many rows? How many columns? What's your total? Get started. Okay, in this problem, how many rows do you have? 2. How many columns do you have? 3. So you either have 2 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 4. In our last problem, we use the number of rows as our group. In this problem, we're going to use the number of columns in our group. So we have 3 groups of 2, which is going to be 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 2, 4, 6. So our 3 groups of 2 equals 6. Okay, so now let's review our learning. So today we talked about equal groups. And when we have an equal group, we have the same amount in each group. So if I said that I have 3 groups of 2. I have 3 groups, 1, 2, 3. And in each group, I have 2. So I have 3 groups of 2. And if I was to write an equation for that, it would be 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 2, 4, 6, 6. We also talked about that we don't only have to draw our groups, we can just write the number in the group. So, for example, if I had 5 groups of 4, I can draw my 5 groups, and I can write the number 4 in each group. And if I write an equation, it would be 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals blank. And I can go in and count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, using my touch points. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So when we talk about equal groups, we're talking about each group having the same amount. Now, we also talked about how we can draw our groups differently than just drawing circles with dots or numbers inside of them. We can go into our learning about rows and columns, and we can draw rows and columns. So if I wanted to draw 2 groups of 10, I could draw that 2 groups of 10. My groups can be rows or columns. And I can draw it as 2 rows of 10 2 rows of 10, or I can draw it as 2 columns of 10. So I could draw it either way. And that would simply be 10 plus 10 equals 20. Or 2 plus 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 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Equals 20. Either way. I personally say that drawing your groups like this is easier. You don't run out of room. But if you want to be able to put your finger and count each one, then I would say draw rows and columns. It's up to you. Remember, you use whatever you do whatever strategy that works for you. What helps you learn, what helps you continue to get the answer correct, and what works for you.